Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Satoshi Sean, your host, and we have today a super treat. My friend Janice McAfee, John's former wife, um, which is that's kind of a story in and of itself. But yeah, the love of the old man's life. Cool lady. Um, it's weird because we've been friends for a while, and I think we kind of bonded over loss, of, like me with my son and you with your brother. Um,
Yeah.
and now we've bonded over more loss, which sucks. Um,
Yeah.
how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm doing a lot better than I was last year. I think in the months following, it was really
Even a few
difficult,
months ago,
obviously.
you look better. You look like you're
Yeah.
in a better place.
I'm managing. Yeah, I am managing. It's been difficult. Um, just because of the way that it's being dragged out. Which in and of itself is just a form of torture, if you will. Just not having that closure and having to stay here and be away from my family and my support system. But I really felt like I needed to stay here because if they were able to, drag this out, this in this way with me being here, I can
Yeah,
only imagine what they would feel they could get away with me not
out
being
of
here.
sight, out of mind, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The thing which she's talking about is that
Yeah,
it's been like a year since
yeah,
John's
over
death.
over a year. Yeah.
Yeah, and they haven't released his body yet. Did they release the
Mhm.
personal effects yet?
Yes, I was able to get that. I believe like a day or so afterwards. I was able to go to the prison
Mhm.
and collect his belongings, and I was able actually to go to their morgue. I'm not sure what it's called in Spanish, but I went there and I was able to see him. So I was able to do that, and them keeping his remains, it only fuels my suspicion as to how he died,
Yeah.
you know. And
Well,
and obviously there's the tweet, I'm sorry, but I think everybody knows about his tweet, saying that if he were to die a la Epstein style, it would be
yeah,
of no through not through his own hand. And that's
yeah.
exactly how they reported him dying. So
It's very weird that he was like famous for saying, "Hey, if I commit suicide, it's not real." I mean, he like
yeah.
laid all that out. Um,
Mhm.
so of course, and then I, there's something that I wanted to ask you if you've checked on this. I mean, it's a prison where he was in the
Yeah.
past year plus. Has anyone else committed suicide in that prison? And if they
Um,
have they been released?
I heard something vaguely. There had been some deaths at the prison, but there
Mhm.
nothing nothing odd about their bodies being released or autopsy reports. But I
So
don't think anybody needed to fight that. I think there was another case where um, someone had died and there was a delay, I think, in getting the body just because there was an investigation, but nothing like what I'm dealing with.
yeah, I was 'cause I was sure if there's anything else that had happened, I'm sure all that stuff would be closed and wouldn't be any problems. Um,
Yeah.
there's so much that we could talk about, which I mean, it, the weirdness of the whole thing. Um, also, the note, the suicide note, which was
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that for a while. Um, you had said that you think it was just like a tweet that he had written
Yeah. Yeah.
down
He
to
would.
send you.
Yeah. He would. I'm sorry, but he would. On our phone calls, he got 3 phone calls a day from the
Hmm.
prison, and so we spoke every day, 3 times a day. They were only 8 minutes long, and he would write his tweets down, and he would read them to me over the phone, and then I'd get them tweeted out for him. And so, obviously, if you read it, it reads like a tweet. It doesn't read like this is the last thing that I want to say to the world as I'm
Well,
going to go kill myself.
yeah,
Right?
and
You know what
that's
I'm
what I've been
saying?
thinking of. That's what I've been thinking about. If there
Yeah.
was no note, it would be much more believable.
Right.
Um, it's John. He's like, hey man, I'm John McAfee. I got a wild hair in my butt. I'm impulsive. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm off myself. But if anything, the man loved drama and loved to make us be grandiose. You know what I mean? If he was like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna write a note, it would be like, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good note. This is gonna be one for the ages. You know what I mean? He would
It would
been
have been epic.
yeah,
Yeah,
epic. There would be like 5 or
definitely.
6 drafts in the trash,
Yeah.
and then this would be it. You know, and then he's like, wait a minute, I don't really want to do this now because I want to see how people read this and how they react. So if there was no note, it would be much more believable for me. Um, and then the whole thing for you can't do an independent investigation because you don't have the body, but can you even do an independent autopsy after a year or so? Is that possible?
Um, well, according to crime shows that I watch, right, they have cold cases where they, dig up bodies and they're able to extract whatever, new evidence from that. So, I mean, if there's any truth to those stories, then yes. But I think something a friend pointed out to me is that the fact that they're keeping the body may be beneficial because if there's any abnormalities found, um, and if his body were to be released and there was an independent autopsy that way, then they could claim that, oh, we didn't do that, you did that, or
Hmm.
it wasn't, his body was not in that condition when we transferred custody. So this is the only good thing that I can see that comes from that. Outside of that, can I do the autopsy report? I can, obviously. I will be able to do that, but um, what will it show? That's anybody's guess. How accurate it could possibly be. Obviously, the more time passes, the less accurate it's going to be,
Hmm.
or the less likely it will find any evidence of foul play.
What's very another thing that's very odd is that at least in the United States, which I assume it's the same everywhere, if there's a death, it's treated as a homicide until the investigation is over, and then it could be suicide or accidental or whatever. But for them to say this was the cause of death, it was this,
Yeah.
and not have a closed investigation just seems another odd thing. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't close that, you wouldn't say that, you wouldn't close it out until you had the investigation over. To have an investigation for a year plus, none of it makes any sense. But the whole thing is weird. Um, I don't know if you were aware, but I was working on things to try and help John out, and I have a friend of mine I've been friends with this guy for 30 years, 30 plus, and he's a big deal lawyer there in Espana. He's If you ever watch those j.f.k commercials, the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah.
I always say that's Alberto. Um, he races Ducatis. He has a rock band. He's a rock star. Um,
Nice.
Climbed mountains. Yeah. What else? Oh, he was like instrumental and really huge in bringing American football to Europe. Played American football, and he's like a lawyer by day. So I was talking to him, and I was like, "Hey man, I need you to help a friend of mine." And I just was telling him the situation. He was like, "Okay." And then Alberto got weird when he started
Mhm.
looking into it and working on it. Um, and he just got real super defensive. He's like, this is Spain, right? This is Spain. We're not some banana republic, Sean. Like, yeah, man, I know. What's going on? Well, but he's just like, just really defensive and like going off on me. Um, so it was very odd. The whole thing from the get go. Um, and me and John had this kind of code where if he was in Spain, I could ask him if he was hard to get a cup of coffee where he was, or if they had good coffee. Because I think there
Yeah.
was he couldn't get good coffee there. So he had to
Mhm.
drive to like a gas station, and this one gas station had like a machine that actually gave good coffee, but it was like a couple miles away, and it was like a risk to go there. Plus with COVID and everything, so that's
Yeah.
how I would know he was. He would tell me if he was in Spain or not. But in the last time I
Mhm.
talked to him, he told me he was out. I was like, good man. I had a really bad feeling. I was like, I'm really glad you're out of there. I don't think it's a good place to be, especially during COVID. Everything was, they were very
Shut down.
militant,
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
militant.
they
It
were
was
extremely, extremely. It was
tanks in the
crazy.
streets. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm glad you're out of there, dude. I just had a really bad feeling about Spain and, what's starting to go on there. I think it was a terrible place for you to be. And he's like, yeah, me and Janice, we're gone. We're out of there. It's like, okay, good. And no, no. Well, um, for everyone, Janice still has a petition on I think it's change.org.
Change.org. Yes.
There'll
ReleaseMcAfee.com
be
if you.
links in the description for you to go and sign that. I encourage everyone to go do that, um, because this really needs to be. It's so sad that, I mean, there's books coming out. You got the new movie came out on Netflix. People are talking about his infamy and fame more than they're talking about like him and what's going on, which is upside down world. It's ridiculous. Um, anything else? What's been going on? And any progress? Any good news? Bad news?
So since the petition has been live, we actually finally got the death certificate, which took, over a year, which, you know, is ridiculous in and of itself.
Yeah.
Um, the apparently the US consulate has been calling to get updates on the status of things. And outside of that, we're just waiting for a decision from the Barcelona courts. So their investigation they opened up after John's death. Immediately they opened up the investigation. And their investigation lasted until February. And so I asked my attorney to file an appeal because they weren't going to release the autopsy report. And because it was explained to me that if I allowed them to close the investigation, close the case without asking or pushing back on getting the autopsy report, then I wouldn't have an opportunity in the future to do that. So um, obviously, I wanted to do that, because I just felt like why wouldn't they release it? Apparently, that's just normal procedure. It's not something maybe a lot of people don't ask for it, and so maybe that's why they felt that they could just say I don't need it. And that would be a satisfactory response, but it wasn't. That I don't need it doesn't sound like a legal justification as to why I shouldn't get the autopsy report. So um, again, once the petition went live, this about July was the same time we got the death certificate, and also in July I found out that their decision could take up to 6 to 8 months, which seems excessively long. Like you're like it shouldn't take that long to decide whether or not you're going to release the autopsy report. Like
Hmm.
what is there to go over? What is there to investigate? You've already spent months, investigating everything. So why not just release what your investigation shows, we were able to get a police report of the investigation, which was actually a joke. There was not much anything in there of substance. Um, no statements from the people that saw him alive. His roommate was a person that was the last to see him alive. There were numerous guards and other prisoners that you could see in the still shots from the security camera footage, because there was a camera that was facing towards John's cell and the whole hallway where the rooms were. And so you see still shots of people. There was people throughout the day that were coming, or throughout the morning, I should say, that were coming, back and forth to his cell, and you could see him in the doorway talking to some people who were in the hallway. And there's no statements from them as to just his state of mind. That
Hmm.
you would think that that would be important to include, even statements from the guards that had saw him and spoke with him. But these are the sorts of things that were not included in this investigation report. So we have that. We got a toxicology report, which obviously, just said that there was nothing, nothing odd. And, even with that, given everything that's been happening, it's like, how can I even, it's difficult to trust the information that they have given, you know, just because
Mm,
of the length of time that this has taken. I can't wrap my head around the reasoning as to why it would take this long.
plus, it's a government, and they are famous for lying.
This
Um,
is true, right? I mean, obviously, this is the concern, but I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. I don't want, I just want to speak what I know. Obviously, there's lots of theories that I can get off into, and I do, privately speak
yeah,
about, what I think actually happened. But in the absence of having the information, I don't perpetuate or continue to, spit out more conspiracies. I think there's enough of that going
there is.
around.
I wanted to hit on one actually, because like I had told you, I'd watched the new movie, with Running with the Devil, and in the
Yeah.
end, John's ex girlfriend says that he called her 2 weeks after he died from Texas. So he was right here, with me. Um, and then uh, said, "I'm alive. Only 3 people know." And by the way, if he got out of prison and and the prison system is faking this, much more than
Yeah,
3 people would be involved in that. But only
definitely.
3 people know I'm alive, and then she gave this look to the camera that was like, yeah, but that's not true.
No, I can say that there's no evidence to that being true. If first of all, John would never put anyone in danger, and she could potentially be putting herself or have put herself in danger of
Hmm.
people if they take that seriously. Then
Hmm.
now they're wanting to come and question her or harass her or whatever it may be. So John would never do that, and I'm not saying that he would call me either. I don't think he would maybe not reach out to me directly because again, if that puts me in danger or potentially could put me in danger or any of his other friends that he would maybe want to reach out to, I don't think he would do that. But I think what he would do is find a way to more publicly um, make his presence known or something. I'm not sure
Hmm.
what it would be, but I think we would just everybody would know, John's alive, if that's what he wanted people
Hmm.
to know. So I don't, I'm not going to call her a liar, but I just don't think what she's saying is true at all. And again, I've not seen any evidence to suggest that he may be alive. So.
Very political answer. Good for you. Yeah, I
Well,
don't.
I want him to be. I don't think there's anybody on the planet that wants him to be more than I.
Yeah,
A lot of times I would, fantasize about that, early on after his death, just because
yeah,
it helped me sleep better at night,
I do
but
know,
it's just
and that's part
there's
of
no
like grief.
evidence.
That's part of grief. We all do that for
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
If you have loss and trauma, it's a way to deal with it. But
yeah,
if you're doing it yourself, that's different than if somebody's offering that to you. Like is what it's like a dishonest.
mhm,
It's like it's bad. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's I just it bothers me when someone like they kind of like they're feeding on your emotions or they're playing on it.
yes,
'Cause like you said, it is something that you want really bad. And that old adage of "you don't know what you got till it's gone" is so
yes,
true.
mhm,
The past year just me, but a lot of people,
mhm,
um, especially in the crypto space, we all talk about John all the time, and just the like the profound things. He said a lot of crazy, funny shit, but
yeah, he
man,
did.
every now and then he would just drop, and that's what made him such an impact because it would be like just goofing around and like, "Oh, you're crazy talking about fucking chickens," and then just he would drop this wisdom on you. And it's like, whoa,
And
Wow.
you know what? A lot of that was just John was so brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. And a lot of those crazy tweets where he said crazy things was just to get people's attention. And he said this to
Yeah.
me a number of times because he said, once I got their attention, then I could come in and say something substantive. I think I'm saying
Yeah.
that right, of substance,
Yeah.
that will really get them thinking, But unfortunately, we live in a day and age where people want to be entertained, and that's just what it is. And he knew how to do that. He knew how to,
Yes.
say crazy things to grab people's attention. I mean, look how much people still talk about his Bitcoin bet, that, what he would
Yeah.
do if Bitcoin, didn't reach $1 million. And people still talk about that. But how many people were brought into the crypto space just based
Hmm.
off of seeing that tweet, So he definitely knew how to use that more unfiltered, crazy side, or I guess, um, will
It
say
was.
anything sort of
Yeah.
thing,
I don't know if you remember the first time that I talked to him. Um, he we had to cancel because he tore his ACL or something in his
Yeah.
ankle.
His Achilles tendon.
Achilles, yeah. And so the first time I meet him, and I like admired him and looked, so it was like really weird, and I was really really nervous. My channel was brand new. I was like in the living room, had on a headset. It was and we're getting ready, and we're gonna cut out all this stuff in the beginning. And he was like,
Yeah.
"Do you mind if I smoke?" I'm like, "No, go ahead." He's like, "Do you mind if I drink?" I was like, "No, man, have fun. It's you're on your boat, And then he's like, "Do you mind if I shoot up heroin?" Now I froze. I froze, and I was like, "Well, I wouldn't recommend it." He goes, "Well, I'm not asking you what you'd recommend." I was like, "Well, you're running for president, John. I don't think you should do that on camera." And then he was like, "I just want to know if you're okay with it." I'm like, "It's like, no, it would freak me out a little bit, man." He's like, "Okay, okay, okay. Hey, Janice, you got to come and talk to this guy, in like 25 minutes when I shoot up my heroin." Now I have a theory that he got painkillers for his ankle, which are opioids, which is like heroin. So I think that's what he was. I think that's what he was doing. But I'm like,
No,
okay,
actually, he was just he was just shooting the shit.
really?
Obviously, he was on painkillers, but yeah, no, he does that. He said he could tell that you were nervous, and so he just wanted to. He does that a lot, though, when
When we
he's
start when we start the interview, I'm like, okay, well, everybody, welcome to the channel. Look at John McAfee. It's like, John, how you doing? He goes, I'm pretty good. Just so everyone knows, I'm going to shoot up heroin. And,
Yeah.
and he was like, our host is too much of a prude, so I'm going to shoot my heroin. I was like, okay, I guess we won't cut out that beginning part then. Fine. And that got picked up. I didn't even know this, but it was used on like news outlets, Twitchers, everywhere. Like I saw it on something, and I was like, "Hey, these people using part in interview. They didn't even say anything about me." And then my kid's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen it like 20 times on like different stuff." It was on Twitch. I
Yeah.
was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" He's like, "I thought you knew." I was like, "No, I did not know." But yeah, he would
I didn't know
always,
that either.
yeah, it was everywhere. He'd fuck with me so much all the time. And
Yes.
one time I was like, "Dude, why do you fuck with me all the time?" I said, "I've seen you on other interviews. You're always on your best behavior and you're all nice to them." And he was like, "Yeah." He said, "Sean, you can take it. It's very rare that I meet someone that can take a joke. And when I do, I'm gonna fuck with them." It's like,
Yes.
all right,
Every
man.
single time.
It's like, okay, fine. But yeah, it's been a much boring place without him.
Yeah.
Um, it he is missed. He is missed by so many. Um, and I really wish that there would be some kind of closure. Uh, what about all this big information dump, the terabytes of all the stuff that he had collected on exposing a lot of bad folks? Any ideas on that?
Um, So I believe that he did have it. Um, where it is, or who has it, or who had access to it, or why it hasn't been released, I can't speak to that. Although I do feel like um it wouldn't be like there wouldn't be any headlines about it. You know what I'm saying? Like it wouldn't
Yeah.
be like, oh, here's the information that John had. I think it would be released in such a way that um it would get to the people that it needed to, so that they could do something about it.
Mhm.
Right, because we're talking about an open secret, right? There's not exactly things that people don't know already or we don't suspect. I mean, look at
Yeah.
the I think there was a story that came out about Nancy Pelosi buying
Yeah.
stock, right? And so I mean, so we know this. Like there's record of her doing that, numbers of times. I don't mean to name drop. I hope that doesn't, you know, get me audited or something. But there's lots of instances like this, and so the corruption is an open secret,
Or just the
and
Hunter Biden laptop alone is just mind blowing.
yeah, right,
You know?
and there's been nothing on that. I guess finally they're talking about, they having enough evidence, but having enough evidence and actually charging him is two separate things, um, so. And I don't honestly don't see that happening. Not when his father is president. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I
So
think the whole it's just for headlines. Oh, getting close. Like,
yeah.
just start giving the real news that nothing's going to happen to these people
Mhm.
because they're in power and you're not. So if your
Yeah.
kid does it, he's going to go to prison. And
What's gonna happen?
this kid
Yeah.
won't because of his dad. He's not a kid; he's an older guy. But
Right.
yeah,
But I think the evidence that he would have collected would have gotten to the hand into the hands of the right people that would need to do something. So I think if we won't see, like, like I said, a headline saying this is where John McAfee's information is, but I think we may see arrests happening. Um, I think that may be potentially what we may see. We may see the results of that information getting into the hands of the right people.
okay. I really hope that it does, and
Yeah.
that people, I hope it becomes part of his legacy. Um, kind of cleaning up the world and helping us move to the next level. Because I think we're there. We're at this precipice of so much that we'd all been talking about for so long. The financial system's collapsing. We're seeing these crashes that are going to happen. The fiat system is going to fall. And it's like he always said, "Why aren't you people using the damn thing? If
Yeah.
why aren't you're just hodling and holding your crypto? It's made to be used. Go use it." Um, I think we're seeing all those things come to fruition now. So it would be an awesome part of his legacy if that happened, and he was known for helping clean up the end. Um,
Yeah.
well, there's it's just not a lot else to go over, man. It's
Yeah.
if there's anything else
Yeah.
people can do, if you're in Spain, talk to your officials. Ask your local you know parliamentary people. Why is this going on? Why isn't the body being released? Why is Janice having to go through this? Um, it's not uh, it's not normal. It's not right. Um, check out the petition. Make sure you sign that. It like Janice had told me earlier. It's not like a be all end all thing, but it definitely helps. For
Yeah.
that to show that people are interested and that people are uh, are wondering, what's going on and why isn't this being taken care of. I think when it comes to that, it's kind of good that his name is still out there, and even though there's all this like sensationalized stuff coming out, it's
Mhm.
keeping him in the forefront in people's minds and in
Yes.
the zeitgeist still. So it's it's not something that they can easily, cover up. That is another thing that's bothered me, especially the past couple of days. I've been thinking about the power the governments have, and let's say that they never give you the body, that they just they say they lost it. Not that far fetched, you know.
No, it's not.
What could you do? You could be mad.
Mhm.
You could sue
Yeah,
them, and they give you some money, and that's it.
that's that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And that's a
And
possibility. That just it shows.
yeah.
It's not just that like I really wish John had a bigger hadn't been shut up so much when he was running for president because
Mm.
like he said he really wanted to get the word out there and to have the stage to just be able to say things that were very important.
Uh, yeah, and unpopular though. And I think that that's a lot of this. People don't want to really talk about it. They don't want to cover it, because he had that label of this crazy paranoid person, right? And so people don't want to believe that he didn't kill himself, right? It's easier for them to just say, okay, it's a suicide, so that's what it is, and that's what, we don't have to pay attention to this anymore. But that's not what happened. He didn't kill himself, and he's not alive somewhere. At least I haven't seen any evidence of that. And I just want to get his body. So most importantly, to lay him to rest. I think it's inhumane what they're doing, and I'm not sure exactly what more I can
have
do other than
have you reached out
continue
to
doing
like
anything.
Amnesty International and stuff like that?
I've done that, but I'm not really receiving any positive feedback anyway.
Mhm.
Like I said, people have accepted the official narrative that has already come out that it was a suicide, and so not many people are paying attention, to what's still going on here. um, and that's kind of the problem that I'm having to deal with.
I'm sorry, Janice. I really am. Um, it's just another example of how broken you know the world system is. How just governments in general. Um, they're not for the people, by the people, controlled by
Mhm.
people. They're controlled by bureaucrats, and those bureaucrats just want to keep the power and stay in power. And it's a messed up situation, man. Which John has been talking about for years. Um, is
Yeah.
still able to kind of talk about it now, even though he's not here. By showing
Mhm.
what's going on and what's happening. Um,
Mhm.
well, if there's anything else you want to go over or talk about,
um no, I think we shared everything. Obviously I will be updating people as things develop here. So you can take a look at my Twitter page at the Mrs. McAfee for any updates on what's going on here. And I just hope to, continue trying to get the word out about what's happening here. Um, we've entered into the eighth month, so maybe I should be hearing something soon. I hope so. So definitely I will be updating everyone, once things change here.
good. And I know you are gonna do like a public thing whenever you can come back to the states.
Yeah.
And
Yes, I want to have a public memorial so everyone that knew and loved John could come and celebrate his life and
can all wear
and
our
hopefully let
McAfee
him
masks.
rest. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I think it means a lot more now. It's like I don't want to
Yeah.
wear it. It's not really funny anymore. Goofy. It's much more personal. Um, will he be buried in like in Florida or Colorado or where?
Actually, he didn't want to be buried. He wanted to be cremated. So,
Oh, that's right. And
I,
then chat out to sea.
yeah.
Yeah. What about the boat? Do you have the boat? Did
We
they take
sold the
the boat?
boat.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
no, it's
I like the boat. It was a nice boat.
yeah, it was.
He was proud of the boat too. He really was. He was very proud of the boat.
Yeah.
It's like, you want a tour? I'll take you on a tour. He's like hobbling. I couldn't walk. He's like, look down here. Oh, it was, yeah. But I really, I do really like boats. I grew up when I was a little kid on the ocean, so down the shore in Jersey.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was great talking to you.
Good talking to you as well, Sean.
We could talk about a lot of other stuff, but I want to kind of keep this just at the kind of what's going on and what anyone can do. Just and also just shine some light on the travesty that's happening. Um,
Yeah.
and not to uh, like pick on you or anything, but like you have means. He has fame. Can you
Yeah.
imagine if it was just some you know average person that
Right.
someone in the government didn't like? They wouldn't
Yeah.
have.
I would imagine this has happened before,
Yeah, I'm sure it's
just in that
happened.
way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they would
definitely.
have nothing. There's nothing they could do. Um, they're
Yeah.
very powerless. So it's just like I said, just shine a light on what's going on and hopefully raise a little bit more awareness and get something done. If you're in Spain and you can, like I said, reach out to anyone in your local government, just ask why this is going on. If you're press, start covering this and just ask why is this going on, um, because people should have to give answers. It's been over a year. I mean, it's I forget what the word is, but it's when something's it's such a known fact that you don't need to say it. It's just like everybody
Mm.
knows it. So
Yeah.
this is like one of those things. Well, it was good hanging out with you. Good talking to you.
Good talking
Make
to
sure you
you.
hit the like button,
Thank you for
everybody.
having me.
Subscribe, leave a comment so you're registered to win crypto. Um, Follow Janice, like I said, she said on Twitter. Um, Best place to keep up with info on that. There's also a it's McAfee Memorial on Twitter. I don't know if you know who that is or you're connected to it, but they usually like whenever you tweet something, they retweet it. They're on
Yeah.
whenever I something of mine. But love y'all. It was good hanging out with you. See y'all in the next video.